So Terry has a professional working on his computer, but obviously he didn't get it done in time. Yeah, he tried. He got a new GPU, and the GPU is supposedly compatible with the motherboard, but it didn't want to play. So now, hopefully, everybody on the stream can hear us. Yeah. So
yeah, hopefully.
Good morning to everybody who is here, hoping for the usual Terry shenanigans. But unfortunately, it looks like Terry didn't get his computer fixed in time, because unfortunately he is still showing us offline. And although I would dearly love you hear me down a tunnel. Let me move the microphone a little closer. Yeah, as much as I would dearly love to just run the stream myself. Unfortunately, as we discovered the other week, my computer currently isn't up to it either the minute we start sharing. So yes, it's the Alan takeover. But all we can do really is sit here and chat. So if people want to hear us sit and chat for a bit, that's fine. And of course, you just need to turn up in Terry's Discord and we can chat.
I was just putting the finishing touches on a 10-question quiz too, Alan.
Oh. Well, I suppose you could just read the questions out. Would that work or not?
No, we'll save it.
I now have a small echo. It's getting this microphone placement just right. Press play on tape. Yeah, I
Hold on a second, I'll be right back.
I would love to press play on tape, but I don't have a computer that will let me do that, because I'm trying to stream anything, and the computer goes, nah.
Back.
Yeah, I think honestly it's probably going to be a case of let's skip trying to do the show, because yeah, I need to get my computer fixed as well.
Jeez, we've all got broken computers, have we?
Well, you know, my computer isn't broken. It's just by the time I get OBS working, and then try to share a video with Discord and stream it to YouTube at the same time, while basically playing a video through from YouTube in Chrome, the computer goes and the data getting to YouTube is choppy as heck. Haha, this is Mr. Mute Donkey. Hello, good morning.
Good time. I guess it could be technically considered morning, but I wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't say that because you haven't been to bed yet, correct?
That and it is still very dark outside. So
Yeah.
I don't think it quite qualifies for morning, but it is past midnight.
Yeah. Now you know how I feel every time I'm on VTW.
Yeah.
Because VTW works the same for me.
Yeah. You caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting the stream to start for like at least another, 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, well, we haven't got a Terry this morning.
No, Terry.
Terry got his new video card.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah, it killed the computer. Effectively.
Oh.
It didn't work.
That sucks.
It didn't work.
That's bad. Oh, and Surf wants me to say hi.
Ahoy, Dark Steve.
Well,
I have a challenge for everybody.
okay.
In the stream title, obviously everybody's used to the fact that the end says part 2.
Yeah.
So, which language did I pick this week? And, more importantly, where's it spoken?
At home?
I was gonna say, are those the like? Is that from the actual alphabet? Like you're using the proper characters for it, or are you more Romanizing?
I am using the proper characters for it, in so much as Google Translate does it.
Sure. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't like, one of the countries that have a different alphabet or whatever, and you Romanized it to make it easier to type.
No.
Under the letter dots, don't show up in too many languages, so I'm trying to think. I want to say like a Southeast Asia country. I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I could cheat.
I believe, Carl, if I
Nigeria, Swahili, African countries that could be.
Yeah. Carl's right with it being a language called Igbo.
Nice.
Well, you see, I just typed part 2 into Google Translate, and then click the thing and pick a language, and it was like, oh, that looks interesting. I'll pick that one. Kind of cheated. Yeah, I know. The thing is that if you just copy and paste it back into Google Translate, it will then pop out in whatever your local language is. But of course, it will auto detect, and it ought to auto detect because it's one of the languages in the list.
Yeah. So are we gonna watch some videos and have kind of a normal style Terry stream, or since Terry's not showing up, or are we doing something special?
Well, we could, but my computer and internet connection are poorly as well. So every time I try and share to Discord and share to OBS and actually stream directly from YouTube, it all goes bleh and chokes on. So about the best I can manage is us talking over a pretty much static graphics. Actually, I've just realised. I can at least put my picture stream up full screen for a while we're talking. Yes, Carl, definitely pear-shaped. It's definitely heavier at the bottom. Yes, we just blame Terry for everything. Of course, it's Terry's fault. It's Terry's fault because Terry's not here. So anybody got anything interesting they want to talk about?
Well, it's kind of boring at the moment. It snowed here.
You've got snow?
We occasionally get snow in May, yes. Don't know if it actually stuck around this time or anything.
Yeah, I mean, we tend not to get too much snow in April, but yeah, Carl, snow. That's when the rain freezes and comes down sort of semi-solid. As against hail, which is when it comes down very solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get quite a lot of hail in the UK in April, but we don't get the really we don't generally get the really big the really big hailstones.
We get hard snow here.
Oh, apparently snow is fake.
Yeah, that was a conspiracy a few months ago.
Car- Demon Orb says, this week I was restoring a 767 cockpit and my Airfix 1-to-1 helicopter was painted.
I'm just reading about this bizarre constructed language. That's about the only other interesting thing going on. It's really interesting. This guy was quite creative with what he was doing.
People who create languages really get my respect, because that's one thing that I really struggle with.
I've tried multiple times. I've never actually... The hardest part of creating a language is the vocabulary. I've created a few complete grammars, but never a complete vocabulary. Because it just is very difficult to create that many words from scratch.
I think it's like you only need, I think it's 88 words to have a functional language.
That's if you know which words to assign to, and if you're very, very, what's the right word? Very, very economical with which words you pick and which meanings you choose. Go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's only 88 concepts that you need to be able to convey to have a functional language. Not saying that it's not useful to have more words than that. Obviously, it is, but it was a thing done back in, I think, the 40s or the 50s. U.S. did it for and so did several other countries or whatever, for helping teach like English to immigrants or for learning different languages. And they found that, and I might be a little bit off on the number, but it's surprisingly low. But once you have those, and I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but once you have those 88 kind of concepts or whatever, you can kind of have normal conversations and work from there.
You're economical with how you assign meanings to words, you might be able to do that, but like in most languages, words evolve naturally, so it ends up being much less efficient and you need to know a lot more words.
Yeah.
I'm really interested with Dora's list of word uses that she can cover with most stuff. Meat, belly, tea, drink, sleep, hate, work. Carl, behave yourself.
Someone says the actual number is like 850 words or so.
Like I said, I might be off, so it like I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit higher or whatever. I just know that it was low. It was something I read a while back, so I don't have it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, I mean, 100 words. It depends on how complex your situation is, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah. Obviously, you know, this isn't allowing for technical talk or things like that. It's more day to day kind of situations.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, so I actually did find the original source from Ogden, who was a proponent of Basic English. And Basic English was a form of English in which vocabulary was restricted.
Okay.
So Basic English had only like 850 words for like that could be generally used. And they were chosen very economically, but the biggest issue with Basic English is that and I remember reading about this. Basic English intentionally limited its verbal vocabulary to like 12 verbs. So it's an interesting language, and it can be used to like create usable, simple texts, and it often is as such, but it does lack in poetry, let's just say that.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's definitely not like I said, it's not a it's not for that, but it's just to be able to convey most things without having to learn a ton of words or whatever. Looks like 18 verbs. Yeah. Yeah, and I know there were similar word lists designed for other languages as well.
Yes, Carl, English is a very bastardized language.
Yeah.
Because us English are really good at stealing stuff off other people and incorporating it into our language. and then of course we spread it all around the world, and then it gets corrupted by those damn colonials.
Oh.
Or not.
Well,
or not, as your perspective may show you.
To be fair, the Basic English is both a British and an American thing. So it was put together by the British and the Americans as a collective.
Yeah. Oh, so you're basically saying that the Americans are God, what are you? Oh, you're
Resistance is futile. You must comply.
Is that what you Americans are?
I didn't hear any words from you, Alan.
Did you? Oh, damn! Is it? That is. You should have heard that. It's all going out everywhere. Did you not hear the soundboard?
No, I didn't hear the soundboard. Maybe it went out to the to everybody else, but I didn't hear it internally.
But the sound.
While you're figuring out your soundboard.
Resistance
Yeah,
is
they
futile.
also had certain rules. So like, those 850 words don't include plurals or like adding "un" to it or whatever. Like you can modify the words to create more words. You can put words together to create compound words. Like that's kind of the whole game of the way that like basic English is constructed is done simply and then has simple rules to get as many extra words and extra meanings out of things. Now, DVB says they heard it.
Yeah, they heard it. I don't understand why you didn't hear it because the soundboard is set up to play the audio to all three possible program inputs. Exactly the same as my microphone is. Weird.
No idea.
So, how is everyone?
Hey, little wolf.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh,
I am doing well.
Yeah, I was listening to the talk on languages, and for some reason it brought to mind on Facebook. I saw they were talking about the guy who came up with the language for the Atlanteans and the Disney's Atlantis, and I think they said he also came up with what was it, the one for the Vulcans?
Oh, really?
I think
I know Gallic volcanism. There's been some languages derived from the Vulcan language in Star Trek, including some very complete ones. There's also Klingon.
Yes. But I just kind of thought that was interesting, and I think like the purpose of the post at one point was saying how underrated the movie Atlantis is, and I'd have to agree.
I agree.
It's a
Oh, wait. Mark Okrand also created the Klingon language, so yeah.
Yeah. I love that movie.
oh. Paul's doing the
I,
quiz in the side chat.
Oh, sure, give them the quiz, but what?
Well, that's all right because we see the side chat is up to date with us. Yeah, I mean,
There we go.
yeah. I
I'm
think
glad I'm
you
not
might.
being asked to read out some of that because I can't really understand some of the words.
So, Paul,
Anyone
read
can
out your
answer it.
first
Doesn't-
question, go on, please.
Oh, it's a text-based chat. Everyone can read it, can't they?
Yeah,
Or not.
or not.
You don't have to answer. There's no internal chat to answer the questions, is there?
No. The only place to answer
No,
the
no,
questions
it's
is in the.
So it doesn't matter whether any of the panel types it in the text chat or not. Just go for it.
Yeah, exactly, and we all see it at the same time anyway. So again, not a problem. But yeah, I'm with Dora and Carl. I'm with Dora. No idea.
It starts with E.
So I'm currently reading about COVID in India.
Yeah. Do you have this in the Google's like normal? Or are you just coming up with it off the top of your head, Peter?
No, I'm reading. I'm
Coming up.
grabbing news, and there's a CNN article on this.
I meant more of the quiz.
Oh, sorry.
Off the top of my head, man.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yay, Hads has got it. Electronegativity is the correct answer.
Oh, good old Haz. I'm glad we got Haz here because Haz last week was definitely showing that he's really got the quiz sorted.
How about some math?
Maybe.
Maybe.
It is like
I don't know. It is 1:41 in the morning. For me, anyways.
yeah, and you're early. See, now I have to do that math. Or I can do this.
He says he has a head full of trivia. My head's usually filled with movie lines.
Dora is the first one in with the correct answer. 56.
Aye.
Because if you cancel off the 6 factorial from the 8 factorial, all you're left with is 7 times 8, which is 56.
Okay, if I Demon Orb. Okay, if I share these onto the stream, the pics that you posted.
Well done, Carl Edwards. He's in with the quick answer of Ireland.
Slow typing. Slow reading. Oh. Anybody watch any interesting streams this week? There's been quite a few.
Other than other than a weekly horror creepypasta stream, nothing much else. But That's just me. I've admittedly haven't been watching as many streams as I should.
There were quite a lot. MC Toon did quite a few this week, and Dapper restreamed a debate he was part of a few weeks ago. There was some stuff with like the level, bunch of people taking their hits at that. Oh.
No. New Donkey with Gordon Ramsay is correct.
I enjoy his shows. That man can be savage. It's awesome.
Yeah. Lots of anger in that person, isn't there?
The funny thing is, like, I've heard that when he's not in, like, the shows or whatever, that he's super nice. Part of it is for the shows, and then part of it is obviously because he does take, you know, that stuff serious or whatever. But
yeah, I guess there can quite often be a difference in people between their personality at work and their personality out of work when they're in a job like that.
yeah. Especially when, like, you know, when he's doing the kitchen nightmares and stuff like that, where he's going to people's businesses that don't know how to maintain, like, a proper kitchen and stuff like that. Like, I could see how that actually frustrates him and makes him angry.
Some of those kind of scare me, because I mean, I've worked in like the food industry most of my careers and stuff, and it's like seeing some of the stuff they do on there, it's like, oh, you don't do that with like raw chicken or anything like that. It's like, no, you.
The worst is I've seen a few where they go to restaurants or hotels, not necessarily him specifically, but those types of shows that I've been to, and I'm like, oh god. I'm like, yeah, that place was terrible.
Yeah.
Finally, when I can get Paul.
Yeah, they're used.
Oil would be the right answer, Alpine.
I should have just read at the bottom OPEC.
Yeah.
I took all the time to read the whole thing, and I got to OPEC, and then I see Alan oil. I'm like, yeah.
Crude oil would be a better answer.
Yeah.
Fair.
Oh, in that case, Carl got it.
I would just like to agree with Demon Orb that I bet cutting a Jet Ranger in half was a little more than interesting. But that truly is an interesting project with with dang, language, help, broken.
Words hard.
Dora in with the quick answer. Macau. Well done.
I was just gonna type yes.
Carl, Hong Kong wasn't
Just thinking of
Portuguese
rush
for a
hour
start.
for some reason.
Probably because Hong Kong. I think in the second one they go to Hong Kong.
Oh, did somebody blow themselves up with a gun?
Yeah, I think Fo
On
posted
YouTube.
that over on the Swordsman.
Of course you would.
I missed what the Hads was responding to, but he brought up Devil's Advocate, which is a great movie, and then Angel Heart, and I don't know if I've seen that one.
He was asking which character did both of those actors play the same character of?
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I'm after his real name, not his assumed name in the scientific community.
Oh, that easy answers away.
It wasn't his assumed name, it was his title.
Yeah, that's right, but that's not what I'm after. I'm after his actual name.
Oh. I can't
Like
just
what?
put like.
The one he had before he got.
I like Carl's answer, Jim Bean.
You're right, Dora. It is Lord Kelvin, but I'm after his actual name. I'm sure his mum didn't call him Lord Kelvin. Thompson is correct for the surname. Now, who can get his actual first name?
So, here's a question I have. The other day you were mentioning, and do you mind if we go into computer languages just briefly?
Go for it.
Okay, so the other day, Mute, you were telling me about C sharp, and I was wondering if C++ is worth learning.
I mean, it depends on what you're doing. Yeah, C++ is a great language. It's a little bit more difficult, but you can do just about anything with it.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what's different? So what are the big issues with differences between C++ and C sharp?
Oh, there's a ton of things. C sharp handles memory. C++ doesn't. C++ is, even though it's a high-level language, it lets you get very low-level. C sharp you kind of can, but not in the same way. They're both C languages, so the structure is similar, syntax is similar, but like how how the two languages operate behind the scenes are very different.
You can do some really bad stuff with C++ if you're not careful.
I've heard that. You mean like not just like a null pointer exception, but something worse?
Well, yeah, you can.
So the biggest. Oh, go ahead, Alan.
You can point pointers pretty much anywhere. So,
yeah, that's kind of the thing is you can mess with memory.
Yeah. So you can mess with. Well, I'm hoping modern operating systems are better than the operating systems that I was. Yeah. Unix systems used to be okay, but when you were in DOS and Windows, you could pretty much shove stuff straight into where the operating system was, and you could do it randomly.
No, Dora, that's one of the great things about C++ is your friends can see your privates, but your children can't.
Oh no.
Which is just going to sound terrible unless you understand programming languages. C++ will let you do whatever you want to do. C++ does not restrict you at all. If you want to be handheld, go learn Java. If you want to actually be able to do things, go to C++. It is what is really good and really bad about C++ is because of all that freedom, you can do some really interesting things, but if you don't know what you're doing, you can very easily mess up a lot of stuff as well.
I see. I mean, the biggest reason I have interest in learning C++ and or C#, the biggest interest I have is faster code. That's literally it. I mean, most of the code I use using my math research was done for the purpose of calculating results, like trying to solve some problem and trying to calculate an answer to some complicated thing. The thing about compiled languages is that they can be much faster, which is than, say, an interpreted language, which isn't so important with like basic things, but with really, really complicated things like, say, large matrices or really, really, really numerically intense computations, it's kind of desired.
Yeah, I would say for most of the stuff that you're probably going to use it for, C# will get you pretty close to the same speed unless you really want to get into bit flipping in C++. Like that's when you're optimized to where you're flipping bits to do the calculations, that's where you're getting a lot of the speed from.
I mean, bit flipping can show up quite a bit in some of the optimized calculations, so I wouldn't rule it out, but previously the language I used for really fast computations was Haskell, which is admittedly faster than the systems I otherwise use, like Mathematica and Python. But I've heard Haskell is nowhere near as fast as C or C++.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think most of the speed it comes from like super optimized code, which when you're getting to that some of that level, you're having to understand, you know, how to flip the bits to do the calculations. You're not using you're creating special functions or whatever to do a lot of your calculations. That way you can do them faster than just adding and subtracting them together. Otherwise, C# will get you, like I said, pretty close to the same speed if you're just doing normal operators.
Interesting.
Huh.
According to, let me see. According to this, I'm using the benchmarks game charts, which I have seen before. C# and Haskell have extremely close profiles.
Hmm.
Like Haskell is on average has like a little bit of more slowness compared to C#, but like if you look at the ranges, they're almost exactly the same.
Interesting.
I mean, I've used Haskell quite a bit, so it's using Haskell for compiled function. Haskell's probably the fastest of the functional languages, so. Though I have heard Rust is also very fast, but but for some reason I've been reluctant to learn that.
I haven't seen that one before, so I don't know.
Rust is interesting. Rust is used to, I think Rust was used to actually code Firefox in its most recent forms.
Interesting.
It's a very good hardware language with a lot of interesting properties. I know it mixes various different kinds of programming style, and it's very good at that.
Yeah, with like Carl Edwards said, C# is focused on Windows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My problem is I'm mostly I do use Windows if I have to. Like, say if I were at work, I'd probably be using Windows, but my preferred operating system and the one in which I do most of my calculations, including my thesis work, and by the way, most of my colleagues in the math department where I actually got my PhD, where I earned my PhD, was most of my colleagues also, well, a lot of them used Linux as well. Specifically the software I use for a lot of computation, Sage Math, involved basically works best on Linux. So a lot of my colleagues learned Linux, basically got into Linux because they use Linux to run Sage. So most of us tend to use Linux anyway. And most of our calculations are done on Linux machines. So maybe C++ might be better in my case?
Maybe.
Probably.
Also, I've never written a line of C#, whereas I've written a bit more C and a little tiny bit of C and a tiny bit of C++ back in the day.
I don't think there's a note on my piano called C++. There's a C sharp though. Black note just above the white note before the two black notes, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's why C# is C#.
You sure it's not D flat?
I mean, I'm surprised somebody hasn't come up with a D flat. There is a D language, and I've wanted to mess around with it because it's supposed to be a pretty interesting language to program for, but haven't taken the time to learn it yet.
Yeah.
No, Mutonki, not the sword and the fire.
I was going to put something else, but I decided not to.
I have to say, I used to write what was essentially a bastardized version of C++/C.
Hads has it with the sound and the fury.
Was it C with classes?
Yeah, basically it was essentially C with classes that I was writing. But I was running it through a C++ compiler, so it didn't really matter. Because the new C++ compiler, certainly back then, would quite happily compile C code anyway.
Yeah. Any of your C++ compilers nowadays will compile C just as well.
But of course, that back then we didn't have C#, and Java was still relatively new enough that it was interesting, but not going to be one's first choice of language for what I was doing. But I wasn't writing stuff with. I was writing everything I was writing was command line because I was doing numerical modelling. So yeah, I didn't need a graphical output because I could just take the output and shove the array into MATLAB to visualise it. But yeah, and of course C++ was nice because it was properly cross-platform, so I could, you know, I could have the I could run the program on a DOS, MS-DOS 6.2 or any of the various flavours of Unix that we had at the university. Plus, I could run it on a Linux box at home.
Yeah.
And running it under Linux was marginally better than running it under DOS.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that is one way, ML, if you can't do C# because it doesn't work on Linux, which I don't know if it does or doesn't, but if it doesn't, you could always go Java or C++. I just know a lot of people that aren't used to C++ type languages don't like it because there are no safeguards. Like your compiler might have some, but the language doesn't have any. Where like languages like Java and C+ and C# have a lot of safeguards built into the language.
Interesting.
They get annoying sometimes, though. I don't know music. Gravity Group.
Not arpeggio. Not pizzicato. Hads has it correct with legato.
So apparently it can work on other operating systems. I'm just figuring out how it does that.
I'm wondering. I mean, once it's compiled, as long as you have the whatever DLLs or whatever are needed, like it shouldn't be too hard to get it running on something as long as it's got.
From what I can tell, the .NET
Framework.
The .NET thing, which is required for this to work, that has an open source branch of it that is multi-platform. So
There you go. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
But Witsit told me earlier that you can't warp space-time. We all know that he's somebody that you can trust.
yeah.
Oh wait, I think I got that backwards.
Carl, of course you hear me typing after the message comes up. There's a time delay on the audio and visual stuff getting to the live stream via YouTube. There isn't a delay on the live chat.
Okay, time for a hard plug.
Time delay. I got him.
Yeah, I get it. Oh, Dora says C# compiles to a bytecode running a VM.
Oh, yeah.
Mono was an early cross. So that's pretty much like Java does it then. At least can do.
Well, C# uses the .NET framework, so if they have an open source for that they can be run on Linux, then you wouldn't need the VM. But the VM's another option.
Oh, hey, it's with it again. Phalanx is correct.
Oh. Javelin.
Yeah, the yeah, oddly the invasion of Grenada was just before I joined the RAF, and I think was it Jinzu said he was doing his basic training when it was going on. So I guess we both joined the military at pretty similar times then. Although it did seem a little strange, the US invading a former British colony that was a member of the Commonwealth.
I don't know. Oh. Yeah, I mean, it didn't type, but I had that.
On effect with Nero.
And he didn't actually fiddle as Rome burned.
No, but it makes a good story, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it makes him sound like he's a much worse ruler than he was. I'm not saying that he was a good ruler, but he did actually he didn't just sit and fiddle as the city he ran burned down around him.
There's an easy one there.
Oh.
Carl Edwards with the Red Baron is correct.
Yeah. And now pretty much recognise that he was shot and killed by ground fire rather than being shot down by another aircraft.
Yeah.
Because it was originally credited to a Canadian pilot whose name escapes me right now.
So what else? One of the many interesting types of people I met while in grad school. Well, not really while in grad school, while in the city where my grad school was, but talking to people of all different walks of life. Grad school, of course, was very interesting. I'm just saying people outside of it were very interesting as well. I met several different people who worked on COBOL mainframes. Not past tense worked, were actively working at the time I talked with them.
Yeah, there's a bunch of COBOL mainframes that are still in use because they can't be taken down long enough to be replaced by something newer. And they work, so why fight it?
What was interesting was, from what I've heard, the vast majority of COBOL programmers that are still around are old and retiring, but all of these COBOL programmers were relatively young.
Yeah. No, it's COBOL and Fortran both have quite a few systems, especially government and military systems that use it. And so, like, if you want guaranteed work, there are two languages that you can use.
I can sort of see Fortran because there's actually stuff written in it that works really, really, really well and is found even on Linux systems. There's actually a G Fortran compiler. So, but I don't get how COBOL has survived this. I can sort of get how COBOL has survived this long, but I don't think COBOL deserves it.
Like I said, it's the type of systems. So, I mean, neither one of those languages really, it's nothing new is really being made in them. It's more of that older systems have to be maintained, and it's easier to find people to maintain them in their current language than to try and build something new to replace them.
I see, but from what little I've read about Fortran versus what little I've read about COBOL, I'd argue Fortran is more deserving of life than COBOL. But then again, that's relatively speaking.
Carl Edwards says COBOL is easy to learn and describes the work well. Yeah, there. So
fair. There was actually a blog entry I once read. I could pull it up if I wanted to. Though I really don't necessarily want to go into the live chat and post it because I don't know if I'd do that. But long story short, there was this blog entry I once read in which a programmer was basically. It's this person who goes by the name of Evie online. Her blog is literally located at a site called eev.ee. And she had this one thing where she would basically take Project Euler problems and pick a really, really weird language, like, say, COBOL or mumps or... Well, in this case it was COBOL, but in other cases it was things like mumps. And then she would try to solve it using that language. She once actually... One of the best ones I saw was where she tried to solve Project Euler 15, which involves calculating binomial coefficients in COBOL, and it was a mess. can pull up the article and someone can post it in the live chat if they want. I don't know if I'm allowed to post in live chat.
Should be able to.
Yeah. If you're
Okay,
not,
hold on.
if blah 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 blah, if you're not blue, I'll make you blue. But you have to post in. You have to post in there first for me to be able to make you blue.
Okay. Let me first find the link.
I wouldn't be surprised if there is some area of the U.S. Air Force that still uses 8-inch floppies, but
You know
that's,
which
that's
bit you know where it is, don't you? Some of the missile silos
I-
are still using them.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's gonna be one of those areas that doesn't get upgraded a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah, that's. I saw it on some documentary not very long ago. The fact that, yeah, like I said, the silos just never get upgraded because they work, and
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently I'm not blue.
well, just
You gotta say something. Oh, there you go.
now you're blue.
Yeah, I got as much as of name as Carl Edwards.
Yep, I'm here.
Now you're blue.
Good. Let's see. So here's the link. There. That's the link. And so if you read the link, it's really kind of funny. Because it's like, because the person writing this is trying to basically write code that's very, very mathematically intensive, but she's writing it in a language that's not really written for it.
Well, you know, sometimes you just have to do stuff in whatever language you have available. I mean, I wanted to do some stuff in Java, and had to write, and then discovered that it didn't even do complex numbers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So this was back in the early days. Yeah, this was back in the late 90s. So I actually had to write my own complex number library.
Yeah, by default, I don't know if any of the C languages by default do complex numbers. I mean, you can set them up so that they do or whatever, or you can download DLLs or different extensions that handle it. But
I mean, I wrote a...
C and C++ both have complex number libraries freely available, usually as part of the usually with the compiler.
Writing a complex number library is actually kind of fun. So does anyone know the language awk?
nope.
So awk is basically, and I'm saying this not because what I wrote was useful, but because what I wrote was fun to write. Awk is a language that is basically used heavily on Unix and Linux systems to basically process text. It's basically you input text, and then basically you can use that to basically match patterns and do things on operators according to whether patterns are on lines of text according to whether records are matched.
Yeah, it's. I have heard of it. It kind of does. Yeah, along with grep, does regular expression stuff, doesn't it?
It does a lot of regular expression stuff. It's a bit broader than grep in terms of its power. Now, where I am going with this is there is a version of awk called gawk, which is short for GNU awk. It's the GNU version of awk. And GNU awk actually has the option of doing arbitrary precision arithmetic. I don't know why it's able to do it. I think someone saw that they could bind it into the library, bound it into the library, and it worked really well. But knowing that there was this feature of gawk that allowed for arbitrary precision arithmetic, I thought, why not write a complex number library for gawk? And it was actually kind of fun because gawk doesn't usually have a very lovely way of dealing with arrays. And well, it has arrays and you can play with them, but passing them as returning them from a function is not as easy. So you ultimately end up getting this really weird syntax of sorts for complex numbers. And it's still fun to write, and the code ultimately ends up working quite well, but it's really weird. What happened? Something wrong?
Oh, yes, you still heard that, didn't you? Even though
yes, I did.
You muted right after a little bit.
I thought, I muted the microphone so that it wouldn't go into any of the. And just remember that Discord is listening to the mic directly, not through Potato. No, my back might have made a little bit of a twinge.
Energetics is not that bad once you know what you're looking for. And new is the G is silent, and it's also recursive.
Yeah, it's recursive for news, not Unix.
Yeah.
I apologize.
No, you're all good. I just wanted to throw that in there. Oh, yeah. Asher's your favorite MC, Dora? That's sad.
I thought we were all fans of MC Toon, the world's worst rapper.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like Escher, honestly, as an artist. He's a very interesting artist, and mathematically he's quite fascinating. Apparently a lot of artists treat him like shit. Not people with taste, just some other artists who don't necessarily have taste.
No news is good news. Well, I mean, news are an animal, so I think no news would actually be bad news.
One of the more interesting... I've actually seen people in my math department actually argue over whether Vim is better or Emacs is better.
I don't mess with Vim.
I personally have used Emacs. I just do. I mean, it's the editor I chose off the shelf from what I could get, and I really have come to like it. Vim I don't mind Vim, but it's not as fun as Emacs, and it's, in my opinion, less easy to use than Emacs, and it's also less powerful than Emacs, in my opinion.
I use No++.
I used that back when I still used Windows as my primary OS. It's a good one.
Yeah. MC Tune is too composed. He must be fake. Fake news.
How MC2 manages to stay that calm in the face of that much ridiculousness, I sometimes.
He seemed to be getting pretty annoyed tonight, which I don't blame him.
I missed that. I had to go to bed.
Yeah,
Dorn-
I caught the end of it.
Dornaku says 800 gigabytes and continuously swapping. Emacs. I mean, that's funny. Oh yeah, fair enough, 800 megabytes, but granted, I'm not usually using very performance-oriented applications for a text editor, so I have heard that if you're editing code remotely on, say, a remote embedded system, then Emacs can have problems. Like there was one guy who used Vim to edit code on a remote buoy, and said that Emacs would probably not have done the same thing well at all.
Now, I mean, have you ever used code blocks or one of the IDEs that are usable on Linux?
Not yet, but one of these days I will.
Because that's what I used when I used Linux.
I mean, my workflow with Emacs isn't so bad at this point. I've been able to code and run things. I did most of my thesis using Jupyter Notebook because that was useful for Sage. But I've coded a huge amount just on Emacs, including relatively large Haskell libraries.
Yeah, I mean, but just because you can doesn't mean that it's the best way of going about it. I used to program in Notepad. I wouldn't go back to it.
Fair point, although coding in Notepad sounds miserable.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, Emacs at least go on.
I've written basic websites in Notepad. Again in the mid-90s.
Yeah, I did both web page development and basic C and a little bit of C++ back in the day when I was first learning, and then I switched over to like an actual compiler and used that for a little while. But even the compilers back then weren't very good. You'd get like, you have an error on line 367, and it might be there. Visual Studio Code is good, depending on what you're doing. Visual Studio Community is also really good if you want like a free version of Visual Studio, for like your C++ and stuff like that.
Yeah, I probably should try one of these other IDEs at some point, but so far I've been able to do everything with IDE related on either within Emacs or within a terminal window on Emacs, because yes, Emacs does allow, if you basically there's an Emacs package that allows for multiple terminal windows.
Yeah. So Visual Studio is Microsoft, so those are going to be Windows only, but it really kind of depends on what your working, like what you're trying to build or whatever, because a lot of the additional tools, having the more robust debuggers are just nice when you've got larger code sets, especially if you're working in like a language like C++ where things can go really astray. But it also is it just kind of depends on what you need. Like having graphics debuggers and stuff like that when you're building graphics engines is a must.
That I can see. I'm not usually that involved in, say, graphics in specialized debugging, although I have sometimes had issues with debugging in some languages. One of the worst languages for error messages, probably not as bad as something you've seen, but debugging text. When you compile a text file and there's an error.
Okay.
If you have a huge text file and there's an error, it can sometimes be a pain to find what caused the error. And especially since text error messages are not only not very helpful, they're also they're humorous, which in the case of being frustrated by an error comes off as condescending.
Because I work in C++, I end up having to build in a lot of my error checking, especially for input-output type stuff. So it'll error on, like, if it can't read or if I'm trying to read past the file or something like that. But otherwise, it's not going to error. So if you garbage in, garbage out. So if you get garbage out or whatever is more of how you know that it's, oh, you're talking text, not text.
Yeah, I'm talking text. T-E-X.
Or text. Yeah. Okay. I have not worked with that. Pronounced tech, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pronounced tech. I really should be learning the pronunciations of these things, but I grew up in the land of mathematics, grad student research, so not everyone knows all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I used LaTeX and actually still use LaTeX. For some reason, I can't pronounce text, but I can pronounce LaTeX. That's weird. I use LaTeX I have used LaTeX quite a bit. My thesis was typeset in LaTeX by myself, entirely. Beyond that, I like to typeset a lot of different things in LaTeX. Although most of the time, I use an editor called Lix to actually do the typesetting.
Okay.
Lix is
I've heard of those. I just haven't used them because of the stuff that I'm doing is a bit different.
Oh, Jinxu. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce your name. I don't know. Jinxu. Gosh. Jinxu. Lix is basically what's the best way to describe Lix? It describes itself as a what you see is what you mean editor, which means which in the case of Lix, what you actually have is an editor that's sort of like a GUI front end for LaTeX. It allows you to it does allow you to do customized LaTeX code if you need, especially if you need it, but it also has a lot of built-in GUI stuff, and it's also much faster than typing up the code by hand. Because if you type up LaTeX code by hand, it can be really slow. And I am strange, I'm sorry.
Well, mathematicians.
Yeah, all mathematicians are strange, including especially me, but also especially everyone else in math. I could go on and on about my math department.
I've known a few people who have had doctorates in math, and all of them are crazy. So I don't necessarily say that as a bad way.
So, here's a story. So one day I went into my, I think it was the first time I was going to a math lecture, and I went up to one of my professors and asked, should I go to this thing? I really don't feel like I'm dressed appropriately. And the professor in question turns to me and says, "This is a math department. No one cares about how well you dress." And that's a minor story. It gets worse. Oh my gosh, there were some very interesting people in the math department. One of these days I have to tell the stories about some of those, but what's the weirdest one I know of? That same professor I mentioned had this interesting habit of leaving water bottles filled to varying degrees on his bookshelf. One day I saw these water bottles and asked, "Why are there so many water bottles sitting on your bookshelf?" And he looked at me rather embarrassedly, and I never brought it up again.
All right then.
There were some very funny things in that math department, including myself. Yeah, what else? Anyway, LaTeX is an interesting language to work with, language of sorts to work with, although it's used just for typesetting. So, but I remember typesetting my thesis was interesting. It wasn't as hard. I mean, I've used LaTeX for years, and at one point I was using it to typeset my notes because with Lix it becomes relatively fast. You can just typeset everything. But some people had difficulties with it. In other news, currently the biggest scandal, speaking of textbooks, the biggest scandal in the US at the moment, and I'm sure probably elsewhere as well, is the high price of academic books.
Yeah, especially for engineering and science subjects.
Oh, yes.
Because I remember, because the university I went to, the University of East Anglia at Norwich, has a lot of people doing arts and literature. And in fact, we get a lot of American students over because they have a School of American Studies studying American literature, which is very popular internationally. And I can remember talking to some of those students, and they was, their annual spend on books would be maybe £30 or £40, whereas my spend would be that on each damn book.
Oh, yes, and it's even worse it's at least where I am, and at least in the department where I worked, let's just say that it was surprisingly common for people to skip buying books entirely and go the dark route that I don't want to mention.
Yeah, I mean,
There were... Go on.
I just recently replayed, because unfortunately when I got separated from my ex, I essentially lost my library of textbooks, which was a big shame, but shit happens. And
Yeah.
I last, not this Christmas just gone, the Christmas before, my mother bought me a copy of one of the of like almost the Bible of for electronics, a book called The Art of Electronics by Horowitz and Hill, and that's like 80 quid now, and that's a textbook that you would buy in your first year, and it sees you all the way through the rest of your career as a useful book.
In the US, it is not uncommon for books to be well above $100, even more. And I'm talking not just like big books, I'm talking basic books.
Yeah, and you also have some professors that write their own books.
Interesting story about that. So one of my professors did write his own book, but he also gave away PDFs of his book for free on his own site.
Oh, that's actually nice of him.
Yeah, he knew how bad the publishing system was. His book had also been out of print for years, and he'd updated it since. So he said, "Here's the link to Here's the link to the book on my website. Just download the book. You don't need to go buy it. It's ridiculously priced now." Some people, though, wanted a bound book, and they didn't realize that you could probably just print the book, print the PDF, and have a bookbinder bind it. So they actually bought the book. The price of that out-of-print book was, I think, in the 4 figures range. When I brought it up to the professor that some people were buying this, I think he was speechless, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. Professor Phil says that his book budget is in the thousands. Oh, and good morning, stroke evening, Professor Phil. Good to see you.
I know at least one professor who did not come from a financially well-off area of the world, who is very much into getting books from less than legal sources, or dark sources, as Fred Bailey put it. And she's far from the only one, but that's all I'm going to say. I know quite a few other people personally who do.
Yeah, one of my lecturers at university had published his own book, which he essentially used as course references. But he then actually, because this was 1993, he essentially just gave us handouts of the relevant bits, all printed up for us.
Hmm. Well, I think I'm going to have to be getting off here soon. Starting to get very early.
I should probably get to work on some things that I have to do. So I will have to leave.
All right. Night, Emma.
Night.
Night, Emil. Yeah, Arthur C. Clarke was a very, very clever bloke.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
Ex-Royal Air Force as well.
Yeah, Dark Steve, it's getting quiet. Get on here. That way I can get off. The phrasing was perfect, Dora. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Ooh.
I'm going with Howard Stark.
Yeah, I've got a list of predictions that were made for the 2020s that haven't quite come true.
Well, we just started the 2020s. Or do you mean the actual year 2020?
Yeah, I want my I want my flying car. Actually, a hoverboard would be a plain simple hoverboard would be nice.
Yeah, we were supposed to have that 6 years ago.
Yeah, this was apparently in a 1950 Popular Mechanics article named "Miracles You'll See in the Next 50 Years." This guy predicted that by the 21st century, all you'll have to do to get your house clean is simply turn the hose on everything. That's because he imagined furniture would be made of synthetic fabric or waterproof plastic. After the water has run down a drain in the middle of the floor, all you'd have to do is turn on a blast of hot air to dry everything. What about not so resilient material, you ask? Just throw soiled linen in the incinerator.
Nice. And Jinx, the not Tony, because Tony would be too young. It would clearly be his father. Thinking about the world of tomorrow. Come on. Humid house. Yeah. All right. But early, I'm going to say bye and good night.
Good
I'll
night.
catch you all later.
Apparently, the same guy also predicted that all food in our homes would be delivered in the form of frozen bricks by the 21st century.
Yeah, I've never heard of Valdemar Comfort either. And Shinzu, yeah, I guess most people can't drive in 2D space and add another dimension. But I'm guessing that these were going to be self-driving flying cars.
Oh, and here's the real kicker for this guy. He said, Camford predicted it would even be possible to take ordinary objects like old table linens and rayon underwear and bring them to a chemical factory to be converted into candy. No thanks. It sounds pretty much like this Popular Mechanics magazine was a book full of woo, because they also predicted that we'd have our own personal helicopters.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of in the flying car thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got. But I think Popular Mechanics had a lot of that type of stuff in it, but it was also a properly serious magazine, you know, with lots of useful stuff in it.
Yeah, I mean, like this looks like one hell of a helicopter too. Apparently, it has no carburetor to ice up, no ignition system to fall apart or misfire. Instead, it's got quiet, efficient ramjets to keep the motors moving, burning any kind of fuel from dime-a-gallon stove oil or kerosene up to aviation gasoline.
I tell you what, ramjets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ramjets.
I don't think. Yeah, you need to be going fast to.
Yeah, like preferably supersonic fast.
Yeah.
Don't think you're going there in a helicopter. Yeah.
Oh, and apparently about the future of the language. Apparently, C, X, and Q will not be part of the alphabet by 2020. It was predicted in the Ladies' Home Journal in 1900.
Well, you know, the Americans do like doing away with letters, don't they?
Watkins wrote, "We'd be spelling mostly by sound and would only communicate with condensed words expressing condensed ideas." Well, isn't that what the teenage is all about?
I was going to say, I thought that sounds just like text speak to me.
Yeah.
Something I just can't do. Oh, is Carl leaving us? Oh.
Yeah.
Do you know we've been going very nearly 2 hours?
Oh, well. Most of it nerdy talk about computers.
Yeah, I know. It was nerdy talk about computers or no talk at all.
Yeah. Oh, God, I wish this prediction came true. Nobody will work and everybody will be rich.
I think we've got a little while to wait for that one. That sounds very much to me like the prediction for Planet Earth in the Star Trek series.
Oh, this prediction was made in 1966 in Time magazine. Okay, that the 21st century would be a pretty awesome economics era for just about everybody. In an essay called The Futurists, they predicted that machines will be producing so much that everyone in the US will in effect be independently wealthy. Without even lifting a finger, the average non-working family would be expected to earn an average salary of between $20,000 and $40,000, according to Time. That's in 1966 dollars, mind you. In 2020, that'd be about $300,000 for doing nothing. Yeah, we wish.
Be nice, wouldn't it?
It would be nice.
Jinzu says, rich or on an equal pay scale?
Yeah, rich is a kind of term that really only is qualified by what your pay level is compared to somebody else's, isn't it? I mean, if everybody $300,000, there'd be no rich people. It's only the people that earn well above $300,000 that would then actually be rich, wouldn't they?
Indeed. Come on, let's hear some more predictions.
Oh, mail will be sent via rocket. Apparently, as out there as it sounds, mail delivery via missile was successfully attempted in 1959. That year, a Navy submarine, the USS Barbaro, sent 3,000 letters, all addressed to political leaders like President Dwight D. Eisenhower, using only a rocket. The nuclear warhead was taken out and replaced with mail containers, and the missile was launched towards the Naval Auxiliary Air Station. The mail was successfully delivered, and Postmaster General Arthur E. Sommerfeld was so excited by the historic significance of mail delivery via instruments of war that he predicted it would become commonplace by the next century.
Instead, we now send all our mail directly,
Electronically.
electronically. Yes. I mean, that's one prediction that nobody made.
Yeah.
That we would be able to carry, that by now we would be able to carry around a computer so powerful that it was completely unimaginable even in the 1960s. You know, could you imagine in the 1960s saying to somebody, yeah, in 50 years' time, you will have a device that will fit in your pocket that will give you access to pretty much all the information available on the planet Earth that's worth having, and a load of crap as well.
Big ass library.
Ah, good morning, Good morning, Muddy.
Hello. Yeah, I just rocked up there, listening to old Kirst. I don't know what you are talking about.
Turn you up a bit. We're talking about people's future predictions for what life was going to be like in 2020.
Oh yeah.
And of course also some of the things that weren't predicted.
Yeah, I wouldn't know any other than predictions because some of them are what do you have? Like Nikola Tesla. When he built his little radio controlled boats. But he predicted that we'd have wireless electricity, which we kind of do at the moment. We got wireless charge up your phone wirelessly.
Yeah, I mean that's really
So
great.
you put your phone on that thing.
Yeah, I mean that wireless charging, and wireless transmission of power is fine over really short distances, but it was never really going to be.
Well, that's where the next part will come into play.
Great. It's never going to be great for mass distribution.
Yeah. Well, but he did have a way for it to go across. There was a couple different ways for it to go across, but Nikola had a way for it to cross a long distance itself as well.
Yeah, the problem with that is that it would take up an awful lot of RF spectrum.
Ah.
And
So you'd be fucking up all the radios and shit.
it would make life really difficult for lots of other stuff to operate. Yeah, we could have we could potentially have power distribution, but it would use lots of RF in all the frequency bands that everybody's now getting really upset about us using for various stuff.
That's actually pretty true.
But
then again, if we'd let him go, then it probably would have worked out in its own sense, kind of thing. Like, because he would have made, well, everybody else would have made inventions and such in relation to what the standard is. Like, you got the standard light bulb, you got the standard electrical source or whatnot. Everybody makes inventions in relation to what the standard is. The standard never was.
Well, I mean, honestly, the optimal way of distributing electricity is by high voltage AC through wires, because it minimises. Using AC minimises the losses. And of course,
because it was still AC too, wasn't it?
Sorry?
Wait, AC, alternating current,
Yeah, alternating. Yeah, I mean, we use alternating current because you don't get the resistive losses that you get from using DC, pushing it down the wire.
It's not so much that, Alan. It's more to do with AC is very easy to convert from one voltage to another.
Yeah.
So you can tailor transmission voltage, and that's why the losses are less. Because obviously, if you increase the voltage, both for AC and DC, you get less current, which means that you get less loss.
Yeah. I was.
Okay. So what? So, sorry. So, if you have DC and AC, you can convert AC easier into a higher frequency or a lower.
No, voltage.
Not voltage. Sorry.
Yeah.
Voltage. Sorry. Yeah. And what does that translate also into like amperage and stuff, or?
Well, your power loss over your transmission lines is proportional to I squared R. The R you can't change, but the current you can. So you increase the voltage, you decrease the current to keep the same amount of power being transmitted. But because your current's a lot less, you get a lot less voltage drop across the or power loss across the transmission lines.
Yeah, right.
And it varies as the square of the current. So if you can reduce the current by a factor of 2, you reduce the power loss by a factor of 4.
So pretty much AC is superior to DC. Is that what you're saying?
In that regard.
No,
sorry.
Yeah, it's not superior by the fact that it's AC or DC. It's superior because you can easily change it from one voltage to another using a transformer, which is pretty efficient.
But also
way of doing
the loss.
it.
Also, the loss in the wire itself would contribute to, or?
Well, that's the thing. If you up the voltage, you reduce the current, and that reduces the loss in the wire. And it's a heck of a lot easier.
But you can't do that with DC, can you?
Well, you can, but it's much harder.
That increasing the voltage and reducing the current works for both AC and DC. It's just that it's not easy. It's not a simple task to increase or decrease the voltage of a DC source.
Yeah. Okay.
In fact,
wow.
if you
Okay,
in
right,
fact if you were going to ask me to do it, I'd probably convert the DC source to a square wave and use a transformer and then rectify it again the other end, the other side,
So-
to get
Yeah.
DC back out. So I'm basically going to convert the DC to AC, pump the voltage up, and then convert it back to DC.
Just a quick question. So what is DC normally? What wave is it? Is it a square wave or a sine wave or
It's no
what
wave at all.
is it normally?
It's a constant voltage. So most of your electronics, so like inside your electronic devices, very often, like in your TV or in your computer or whatever, one of the things the power supplies do is convert the power coming out of the 240 volts or the 120 volts, depending on where you are, and that's only a nominal voltage. It converts it from AC to DC to use in the electronics.
Yeah, because I got a battery charger. Plug it into the wall. Well, plug it into the wall, and it charges my battery, the car battery, basically.
Yeah, but the output
So that's
from
what
the
you're talking about, yeah, where
yeah,
it converts it.
even at that point, the output, because you get DC out of a battery, and you have to charge it with DC. So one of the things the battery charger does is actually it's called rectification. It converts the AC sine wave to a direct current, or at least a positive only current. It's not necessary. Yeah, depending on the quality of the charger, it may or may not make nice DC. It might have DC that's got a lot of what we call ripples. So the voltage does change a lot, but it's all positive voltage.
Is that like
So
chocolate
hence
ripple
why-
cake with cream?
I wish it was.
So
Yeah.
do you know about electricity cursed?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
yeah. I used.
I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah. On the radar system.
Okay, so you know heaps about.
On the radar system I worked with, for the transmitter, the power input was what we call three-phase mains. So mains, it was AC, but it was three different lots of
three
AC.
phase, yeah.
Three-phase, so that we could mix it. So 400 and something volts for AC, for three-phase. But that would come in, and we would put that through a rectifier system to get a DC output. And we had to produce 12,000 volts, and the DC had to be that well smoothed out that we were allowed 1 volt ripple on 12,000 volts.
Right.
That's nothing. Your luxury. we used to run scanning tunneling electron microscopes in our department. The physics
Oh my
department,
God.
Right, and they have a power supply of about 2 million volts, Alan.
Yeah.
and you've got to filter out so that they've got almost no ripple on them.
Yeah. Paul, I didn't mention this was putting out like 6 amps as well.
Yeah. Most of the circuit boards in the microscopes, the electron microscopes, have to be silver soldered because the boards get so hot that ordinary lead solder would melt.
So
Yeah.
what would you not use gold or anything like that? Why use silver? Is silver better than gold for
It's
Well, it's significantly cheaper
cheaper?
and it's harder.
yeah.
Oh, you can't fucking skip out, mate. You gotta fucking get the best shit for science. It's gotta be pristine, perfect, the best.
Yeah. Oh, Professor Phil,
That's why I need rich people.
Yeah. I just want to ask, Professor Phil, yes, we used capacitors, but we also used inductors as well for some of the smoothing, because, yeah.
What's inductor again?
That's basically a coil of wire on a.
Oh, induction. Sorry,
Yeah,
induction.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Yes,
Very
I know
often,
what you're talking about.
very often with a
Sorry,
like
yeah.
a ferrite
Yeah,
or a
I'm
metal
stupid.
core down the middle.
Yeah.
Sometimes referred to as a choke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're
Indeed.
talking about. Yeah. Fucking dumb.
Yes, indeed. We would call them chokes because of.
Nah, but like, what about
How
like
do
if
they
you
operate?
fucking pump up like amperage like to the max?
No,
You
that's
burn
the
all the
thing.
wires and shit out, eh?
If to transmit it a long distance, you need to reduce the current and up the voltage
Or
because
here, all right. Hang on, Alan. Right, for long distance, curse. I don't know if you've ever heard about this before, but Nathan Stubblefield, right? Have you ever heard about that name before? Nathan Stubblefield.
can't say it
Alright.
rings a bell.
Okay, so Nathan Stubblefield, right? This fella.
It's got to be stupid. I
Apparently-
mean, with the first name of
No,
Nathan, it just has to
no.
be silly. Right?
No, apparently he actually kind of built the very first wireless telephone. In a way. So what he'd done was he'd put fucking and it was true. It's all fucking there. It's in history. It's in the fucking museum and everything. He'd put metal rods in the ground, right? A positive and a negative or something. I can't really remember what he did, but he'd done like an induction kind of thing. And on the other side, and I don't know how true this is. Well, I don't know how he done it, but it was to do with the underground currents, the electricity under, like the magnetic electricity of the Earth, basically.
I think I know where
The waves
I,
of, yeah.
I think this would be originally from the telegraph.
But
rather
it
than,
was a true thing. Yeah, it was like a telegraph
it
kind
was-
of thing.
What I think, if I remember rightly now, what is that originally the telegraph was a 2-wire system. Okay, so they would send, they would have 2 wires, a positive and a negative wire, but it was realised that you could use the Earth as your return, as what they call the return path. So you only needed to use 1 wire to send the signal down. And that sounds like what you're trying to describe.
No, hang on. Send us this. There's the thing there.
I like Dora's comment. Were duck seats involved?
No door. Wait, where are we? Where are we? Alright, cursed here. There. So that's like the Nathan Stubblefield. Like he was decorated and whatever. Like it wasn't like as if he was a shield and what he did wasn't true. Like what he did was true, but it was just trippy about what he did and the way he did it.
Yeah, I'll stick your link in the. I'll stick that link in the side chat for you. If you post in there, I will make you the same colour as everybody else, and then you would be able to post the link in the YouTube chat.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because this was like, I don't know. I used to look up this shit like ages ago, but every time it would be like not you know, you got fucking what's his name build the fucking Alexander Graham Bell.
You just mean Alexander Graham Bell without the F word, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, like,
Yeah.
Sorry,
no,
sorry to swear.
Let's wind it back a little.
Yes. No, Alexander Graham Bell, but like I never liked like who was before him? Who was before Alexander Graham Bell? That was what I always asked.
His parents?
Yeah, but that was true. But who invented?
And then before them was his grandparents?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, yeah.
But who was before him? Who invented stuff before him? Who had the ideas before him? Where did he get the ideas from? Or did he make them up himself, kind of things?
Well, he was
I'd never always just go, oh, this was the guy. I'd make a big presentation about how good this guy was.
Well, the thing was that there were different people working on transmitting
Exactly.
voice over, through the wires.
That's
If
right.
you could do it with the telegraph, why can't we do it with voice? And Alexander Graham Bell was the guy who managed to get his version to be the one that was accepted as being first, that worked, etc.
That's right.
By getting the patents on it. Well, that's fine. So he's the guy who gets the glory, because people were working on this independently and separately and without knowledge of what other people were doing, and they invented this stuff because they had the realization that yes, we can use a microphone, and we can get a signal on a microphone, and we can use that to transmit the voice over a long distance, and then have a speaker that will reproduce the sound at the other end. And of course, you have to remember that that was just the basic system that he invented. You've also got switchboards and methods for routing the calls, and that was also an important part. You have to remember that these things are systems very often. They're not just one person will generally tend to get the credit for stuff, but they and commercial success isn't always based off the best stuff, because otherwise we would have all been
Someone's probably employed him.
because we would have all been using Betamax, otherwise not VHS. And hello, Terry. You're muted, Terry.
Alex Lewitt, former president of Lewitt Vacuum Company, predicted that vacuum cleaners of the future would be nuclear powered.
I think some people thought all sorts of things were going to be nuclear powered at one point, didn't they?
Yeah. It's an understatement. It probably wasn't his most convincing sales pitch.
What are you trying to sell me, Alan? I'm not falling for it this time.
Terry,
No, here's the best future prediction. Here's the best future prediction that you can possibly have, Alan. Prediction number 23. There will be no need for futurists to predict the future.
Oh. Oh shit, here we go.
Sorry. That one really has cracked me up.
Once we've gotten to that point, we are well and truly fucked, I think.
Come on, Maggie, language.
Oh, sorry.
I'll have to get the swear.
Buggered.
I'll have to
Buggered.
But that's acceptable.
So yeah,
be careful.
you're right. Get up.
Be careful, or I'll get the swear jar out.
I thought you already had it out, man. Sorry.
And so it seems to be joined by Terry, but he has no sound.
Yeah, Terry muted himself.
You guys hear me? I can't hear you guys.
We can now.
I
We
can't
can
hear
now.
you, Terry. Sorry, I can hear you now. I can't hear you anymore, though. He does it on purpose.
Oh. Assuming that he really can't hear us, I thought I'd better type it in there for him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but how's the ocean been these days, eh? I've been watching the ocean.
Still cold up here.
Yeah, it's always cold up there, isn't it?
Yes, I think compared with certain parts of the sea around Australia, I would say yeah, it's cold. But
Yeah, it's so cold here.
you know, I think the sea temperature is sort of 4 or 5 degrees at the minute. Maybe it might warm up just a little, but you know, I think in a really good summer we might get sea temperatures up to about 10 degrees Celsius.
What? 10 degrees?
Yeah.
I remember going diving in 18-degree water and being in there for about 20 minutes and freezing and having to get out. And that was in a wetsuit, 2 mil wetsuit.
Yeah.
That is freezing. I wouldn't be able to survive in that.
Yeah. Well, oddly, the North Sea is actually quite cold compared. You know, down the east coast of England, the sea is actually, I think, a bit cooler than it can be up the west coast of England, because the west coast is getting the full benefit of the Gulf Stream.
Here's one for the flat earthers, Alan.
Yeah.
If I wanted to commit suicide, I would climb up to the height of your ego and jump down to your IQ level.
They'd probably think you were soaring off to the moon.
Yeah, but Paul, could you get that high up, Mount Stupid?
Mount Stupid.
Or how about this one? A good mood is like a balloon. One prick is all it takes to ruin it.
Oh, Terry's gone. Oh, and Terry's back.
He's back.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah. When it comes to sea, I kind of did know the sea temperatures for the North Sea. I even, because.
I like this one. This one's great. A train station is where the train stops. A bus station is where the bus stops. On my desk, I have a workstation.
Oh, what stops there?
Nice, that is good.
Wait, what actually stops there?
Oh, probably the work.
What works station?
I mean, come on. Let's face it. Access to a computer does give you the biggest excuse to procrastinate at work ever, doesn't it?
Yeah. Or this one. Alcohol does not solve any problems, but then again, neither does milk.
Well, that's true.
One that I remember from basic training in the RAF. Life is like a pubic hair on a toilet bowl. You soon get pissed off.
Hey. Unless you're on the outside and you get pissed off by some fuckwit that wants to piss on the outside of the bowl.
So Terry can hear us in tube, but he can't hear us in here. That sounds like you got your sound settings all screwed up, Terry.
How can he hear you now?
Well,
It's not even in here.
he can hear the YouTube stream, but that's like 30 seconds behind what we're actually
Are
saying.
you streaming?
Yeah, streaming.
Hello, stream. My name is Aggressive Mudcrab.
Yeah, we've even got 13 viewers.
Oh.
Which considering this stream is literally some people talking and a roll around of a load of
we can have a chat.
photographs. Dark Steve's going for a nap. Good night, Dark Steve. It's not that late over there though yet, is it? Paul?
In Australia?
Yeah. What time is it? Here it
No,
is.
it's 9:33.
Yeah. Don't cross the streams.
Don't what?
Don't cross the streams. You should never cross the streams. Don't you know that?
Who's crossing? What's that name you got on there?
Sorry, what?
It's like Nkebi.
Oh, it's it says part 2 in a language from Nigeria.
Eh?
Well,
Oh, I like this one, Alan. A lot of people are only alive today because the law makes it impossible to shoot them.
yeah. Sometimes one thinks that summary execution should be allowed. But I think it's probably a little radical for most.
Clickety, clickety, click.
Quickly.
Yeah. Fred Bailey, you are definitely not dumb, mate.
No, I'm not dumb.
No, I was talking to Fred Bailey in the side chat. I'd say you're definitely not dumb because he knows the Earth is not flat.
The Earth can technically be flat. It can be flat within a 10-meter radius from in all directions.
Go
Look
bungee
in 10
jumping.
meters.
Go bungee jumping. Your life started with a malfunctioning rubber, so it's only right it should end that way too.
Yeah.
God created the world. Everything else is made in China.
And if it's not made in China, it was made in India.
So, can you hear us now, Terry? Since you're back in here. Remember, you're muted as well.
Yeah, you muted Terry. So yeah, I'd like to talk about the Great Barrier Reef.
I can hear in YouTube, but I'm not getting sound in Discord.
Okay, well we heard you then.
Have you gone through your Discord settings and made sure that you've selected the right device for your input and your output?
I know I'm muted.
Paul, that would have probably been a better question typed than said out loud.
Well, if he's listening to the YouTube stream, you should hear it.
Oh, true. I'd even forgive an echo coming back through.
Oh, now here's one I've got to use on the Flat Earthers. How many times must I flush before you finally go away? Or, here, have a tissue. There's still a bit of bullshit left on your mouth.
So you know how you have like Indians where they'll like call you up and ask you about if you wanted to buy the brand new deal.
Okay, Professor Phil, we'll see you all later. Hope you're feeling a bit better soon.
See you later, Professor Bill. Professor Bell. Phil. So yeah, I've started to see some native marsupials. Australian native marsupials started to rock up in my town, Gold Coast town, almost in the middle of the city. All natives. It's kind of mad. We almost trapped them with the rat trap because we thought they were rats, but thought we'd just wait a little bit, see if we can see what they look like first. It turned out they were native marsupials.
I'm going to guess the native marsupials would be protected species.
Oh, what? Protected species? There's literally like none of them left because all the bloody cats ate them all. There's like none left. These little ones, I'm protecting them. There's cats out here. I see them sometimes. I give them a little kiss. Yeah, wildlife is absolutely amazing. Need to protect it at all costs.
I was in the city of Norwich last week, and in the river, about 25 miles from the sea, was a common seal.
A seal?
A seal. Yeah.
I've never seen a seal before,
Looks rather like a
That's
dog's head
mad.
sticking out of the water.
It looks like a dog, eh?
But there were 3 or 4 of us stood on the riverbank watching the seal, and it would stick its head up out of the water and sit there watching us.
Was it just like watching you?
Yeah, it literally was. It was. You could see it was literally watching the people looking at it, and it kept coming back to the same spot where we were all stood. Seal was on MTV when they still played music videos. Yeah, I have seen that seal play live actually.
Yeah, no, it's pretty, I don't know, man. It's pretty amazing, the ocean, eh? Because you know the ocean provides pretty much all of the oxygen the Earth has.
Well, it doesn't provide.
Yeah, it provides all the oxygen. Everything. Nah, not really. The land does, but how much land is there compared to the ocean? And how many ocean plants are there?
Oh, look, I agree, but you can't say that it produces all of it because we know that it.
Yeah. There's a bit of over exaggeration there. But truly though, you could actually just wipe out all of land and still have an atmosphere to breathe. Depends on how many animals are left, but because it'll all be out of whack.
We have to remember at one point in the history of Earth, this new life form appeared and actually created a global atmospheric catastrophe.
Yeah.
That completely,
Well, that's, yeah, exactly.
that completely changed the composition of the Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it
No,
was
that will definitely, yeah.
And okay, I'm sure life would have developed with the atmosphere that we had, but it certainly wouldn't have been us, because without the plants pushing out all that O2 to make it nearly 20%.
Yeah, all the ocean plants ocean planes, because they came first. All the ocean planes come first. Everything in the ocean come first. Why do you think we come from the ocean? Everything come out of the water.
Yeah,
All of it. All come from the ocean first. You don't come on to land like straight up. Everything needs water. Even the plants on land need water. Everything started in the water. So you start with algae. Start with little single-celled fucking algae bastards.
You mean just algae?
Yeah, but you got that one little single-celled algae bastard. He's a big bastard. He's like 3 centimeters big.
Come on, Muddy. You know that we're on a live stream.
Oh shit! Oh, bastard's alright, isn't it?
Well, I prefer you didn't just keep using it gratuitously in the way you're doing it. It's not really helping the conversation.
He was a big boy. He was like 2 centimeters. A big 2 centimeters. But yeah, it all started in the ocean. Sorry for saying words. I'm trying. Yeah, everyone needs water.
Dihydrogen monoxide.
See, well, hydrogen monoxide.
Dihydrogen monoxide, that's really dangerous stuff, isn't it? You know, it's an almost universal solvent. It will dissolve almost everything.
Hydrogen monoxide.
Dihydrogen monoxide.
Dihydrogen monoxide. Oh, that's the most poisonous, venomous thing in the whole planet. Dihydrogen monoxide is so venomous.
And is Terry fixed now?
Ugly bag of water.
No, I'm on my phone.
Are we working now, Terry?
No, I'm on my phone.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, yep. Mate, how you going, Terry?
Yep. Good, mate. Yeah, but I'm on my phone. I'm not on the computer.
Yeah, that's alright.
Well, at least we can hear you.
No, it's not.
Well, no. but Terry, we'd already worked out that your computer wasn't properly fixed yet. But is the new GPU finally working?
No, not yet. The bloke reckons it's got to have a different power supply.
Oh, you've not got enough power supply.
Yeah, well, I got a 700 watt power supply, but it's to do with the connections to connect it to the video card.
Oh, it's only got a 4-pin.
So I've got to wait till I get it. So I'm going to get another. Power. He's going to get another power supply, and we're going to plug it in and see if that fixes.
Yeah, plug it all in.
But that's not the problem. Why I've got no sound.
No, that wouldn't be the
So
problem.
what happened?
He had to upgrade the BIOS.
Yeah.
And we'll be back after the break.
And what he's forgot to do is put the boot drive in sequence. So I haven't got the hard drive running, and it's not allowing all the systems to work on the computer. So I've got to go back into it and fix up the boot drive.
Anyway, we decided to play without you this morning, Terry.
Okay then.
Although we haven't
Oh,
been able
is
to
it
do.
morning?
Well, okay. Technically, I guess it's afternoon now because it's 10 to 1.
No, is it morning for you?
It's 12:51 for me here at the moment.
I'm gonna go and tell the Queen.
Because at the moment, as it's summertime, I'm 1 hour in front of UTC.
UTC is Universal? Greenwich?
Yes.
No, GME is Greenwich.
Well, GMT is
GMT.
is Greenwich, and UTC is Universal Time, and I believe there is a slight difference between them because one of them has had more leap seconds than the other.
Yeah, we used to have there's actually machines. We've got machines in Australia that literally have GMT time and Australian time for like the security like to record the recordings. I don't know why they have it, but they have it for most of like the real high security stuff, and they got the GMT time, and it does thing out to what you were just saying then with a couple of seconds. It equates for I don't know what they call it, but whatever you were just saying, they do that. No, I'm sorry.
The difference is that GMT is a time zone, whereas UTC is a time standard.
Ah, okay.
Time standard.
Yeah, it's called Universal Coordinated Time. Coordinated Universal Time.
Carl, what do you want me to read?
No, I think Carl's saying he's read something too, and it makes sense.
Oh, I read that too, what I was talking about. Yeah, I can't even remember what I was talking about, but I'm pretty sure I was talking something that was true. I can talk to you about the ocean though. How was that? We found it. Well, I didn't find it, but someone found a dead dolphin. It was like on the bottom of the seaway, like it goes out to the ocean. Connection from the estuary to the ocean, and there was a dolphin, and it was dead. And it was on the bottom, like on the very bottom of the ground. Would have been about 30 meters, 20 meters down. And it was just dead. And nobody knew how it died and that, but it was a bit suspicious because dolphins don't really die like that. Like, it was kind of suspicious how, like, why was it there? Why was it like that? Like, something happened, somebody hit it. but didn't have any marks on it, didn't have anything. And nobody knows to this day how it died. Like, they think it died from natural causes, but it was kind of like it was pretty healthy and everything. Like, it didn't really seem like it died from natural causes. So they reckon it might have been like some sort of chemical.
Thing is, though, let's face it, perfectly healthy human beings drop down dead every day.
Yeah, but there's always a way to identify how it died.
An ex-dolphin pining for the fields. Probably.
Well, you cut it open. That's what we do. You cut them open and you have a look inside. Like, even inside their belly, it might be like, for example, they might eat a bit of plastic, which we've seen this a lot with turtles and stuff like that. But they eat a piece of plastic because turtles eat sea jellies, right? People call them jellyfish, but sea jellies. And they eat sea jellies. And you look in the ocean and you have a bit of plastic bag, it looks like a fucking... Oh, sorry. It looks like a jellyfish, sea jelly. And it eats it, and it clogs up the inside of the turtle, and then any other digestion that comes after is impeded, and it clogs them up, and they end up dying from a clogged up internals, like they've got plastic inside of them. You know, and you think, well, oh, plastic bag, yeah, but then you got a little tiny piece of plastic that might break off a lighter, like a little tiny piece of plastic just as big as your fingernail. Little baby turtle come and eat it, and he's full of all little bits and pieces of plastic the same. Clogs him up just the same.
Yeah, unfortunately, there seems to be quite a lot of odd behaviour that we see every now and again. A couple of years ago, we had problems. Well, we had a thing all around the coast of the North Sea. Whales are in pods, aren't they? We had a pod of whales that, for some reason, swam down the North Sea and kept getting themselves stranded on the beaches and dying.
Yeah, like, why? Hey.
Well, I don't think
such
they ever
an
found
intelligent
out.
animal. Such an intelligent animal, like it knows. But why does it do it? There's a reason. I can't tell you, but they know why. You know, there could be a number of reasons. It might even be like a submarine out there or something. You know, there's like what would make you jump out of your natural environment? Like, you're on the land, we're a land-loving animal. What would make us jump into the water out of fear? Why would we jump into the water out of fear? And then impart that onto why the dolphin would come onto land. Because it knows there's got to be a way. Like, it knows that you can't come up here. It knows that it's too shallow. Like, why would it come up? It's obviously getting away from something, but what is it? Could be anything.
Carl, I'm not sure I understand that last question you asked me. Was creaky there as well.
Why would a dolphin beach itself if it's such an intelligent animal and knows that it's literally beaching itself? it's conscious, like it knows it's beaching itself, as if it doesn't know it's beaching itself. You know what I mean? Like it's
I'm
intelligent enough to know.
I'm going to suggest that at times dolphins and whales may choose to bring themselves up onto a beach because they need to be able to stay on the surface in order to breathe, because of course they can't breathe underwater.
Yeah.
So if you're creaky whales. Yeah, okay.
Creaky whales.
Yeah, I would guess if you're
well, the point is, it's got to be a reason.
if you're a mammal
Whatever the
that
reason.
spends that lives normally in the water, if you're unwell or whatever, and you and swimming and staying on the surface is starting to become a problem, the one option you've got is to get yourself up on a beach and not drown.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's what Carl just posted there with the sonar. Yeah, that could be like you know what I mean, like, because there's got to be a reason why would they want to leave their ocean? Like, why would they want to leave the water and exit and become stranded? Like, why would you want to become stranded? They're obviously in distress, you know what I mean? There's some sort of distress to say, well, like fire, you know what I mean? Like, if you're in a fire and you're in a house, you do anything you can. You climb up the walls, you start jumping out the building, like, you do anything you can to get away from the flames, right?
I think the problem is they ended up for some reason swimming into the North Sea. Which is really shallow, and they kept going and they didn't stop, and then they're like quite possibly stuck and confused, and suddenly there's no more of their normal food supply, and that's when they get into difficulties. But that's only.
But even then, like that's their home. Like, literally, like, you know how you walk down to the shop and you walk back to your house? That's what they do. They swim down whatever, or they swim that way and then they swim this way. Like, that's literally their shop, like, their home.
Yeah, but
they know where they're going. It's not like as if they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, but this is a species that normally lives in deep water. And...
but even then,
by any definition, the North Sea is not deep water. That's the problem. The North Sea.
But even then, like, a dolphin is not really a deep ocean animal. A dolphin is definitely not.
No, these weren't dolphins. These were whales. Small ones.
But even whales.
Smaller ones. But yeah, they were a species that usually lives off the continental shelf.
Yeah. Yeah, no, see, I've heard a fair bit about the whale, like them. I don't know if you're talking about them ones, but where they do get stuck a fair bit because they get a bit disorientated about where they're going. Them pilot whales. Is that what you're talking about?
I can't remember what species they were, but it was a couple of years ago, and there was a whole load of landings all down the Danish, Dutch, and British
I think they're
coasts.
pilot whales.
Yeah. Carl, I know you're talking about sonar, but actually, no navies hardly ever use active sonar. It's it's not a good
Yeah,
because it's not a good thing to go around shouting out, "I'm here, I'm here, I'm here."
Pilot wows, yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is that as with airborne radar, other people can hear your hear your active output much further away than you can get the echoes back from them. So yeah, generally there's not much use of active sonar from submarines. And I think I'm going to start saying now, thanks everybody for coming. Thank you in the panel. I think it's time we called this a day. We've now been going for 3 hours, and I kind of need a bit of a rest now.
Yeah, you deserve one, Alan. I must admit, I've been tinkling the ivories, tinkling the keys for the last 20 minutes. So,
well, do you want to share a bit of your playing with us, or are you not set up for that?
Yeah, but it'd be a bit boring, wouldn't it?
What's that? I thought you were playing the piano.
We're on hold. Please hold. Centrelink will be with you shortly. The Centrelink representative will be with you shortly. Please hold. Please hold. The Centrelink representative will be with you shortly.
Thank you very much,
There
Paul.
you go. That's enough for you.
Hello, this is technical support. How may I help you?
Come
Please
on.
start with your username and password, okay, please?
Come on, Muddy. That was a heck of a lot nicer than anything you get canned down a telephone at you. Yeah, thank you for your little impromptu piece on the piano there, Paul. That was I did actually really enjoy that.
Yeah.
That was the Centrelink. That was the Centrelink. Fucking. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't say anything. I'm going home.
I'm trying to build up my speed in my fingers a bit. That's my latest technical challenge.
Yeah. Well, it sounded like you were getting there.
Yeah.
Not that I do music too well, but you know, because we all know I'm not allowed to sing on stream, am I? And I'm not allowed to whistle on stream.
No.
And
You're not allowed to sing anywhere, Alan.
yeah, true. I guess my singing could be a bit like Red's face, you know. A weapon of mass destruction.
Have you ever heard of the Shark song?
and go back in time. But yeah, hello, Mum and Dad. Bye, Mum and Dad. So I would like to say thank you to everybody who's been in the side stream, in the side chat and listened to the stream. It was a bit different to what we normally do, but I'm guessing
It's only
everybody's
because
enjoyed
I
it
was
because
here,
you're
I'm
still all
sorry.
here. Thanks,
I'm
Paul.
sorry,
Thanks,
it's
Maddie.
only because I was here. Everything becomes different.
Thanks, Muddy. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Terry, for when you came in. And good night to everybody.
Yeah, good night.
Good night, and have a good
Oh,
sleep.
good night.
Good night, Terry.